about what's going on. They talk about plans going forward, what everybody's doing, some of the drama that we've all been seeing. There was a calculator that Harrison shared. We'll take a quick look at that. And I really want to see what everybody in chat is thinking and what you're all kind of up to today and how things are going and how things are looking for you guys at your jobs, your studios, and your plans and stuff going forward. So good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well,
Everyone's having a great Friday.
Feel like they should have mailed us all free pizza to make this a little bit easier. Just a courtesy, just to be like, here, I know it's tough. Unity developers get, it's free pizza day. It's free Unity pizza day.
Yeah, maybe they need to acquire a pizza company, right? And then just be good, some good stuff. There are a couple really good ones around here that are small. I would be all for that. Have some Unity pizza. Anyway, so there's been a lot in the news. I mean, we were all talking about it quite a bit before. A lot of people are very, very upset. A lot of people are switching engines. A lot of people are stopping streaming, stopping their tutorials, development stuff, switching games over to different engines, and a lot of that stuff going on. There are also a lot of people that are just kind of waiting to see what happens, which has kind of been the what I've seen from a lot of the people that I know at some of the bigger studios. They're just kind of waiting to see where things actually land. What these fees end up being if Unity ends up totally rolling things back. I don't expect that they will, but never know. And they're all just kind of waiting to see what this actually looks like. And then some of them think maybe this is going to get challenged in court or some other things. And I really have no idea where it's going to go. But I've seen that a lot of the big ones, because they're so heavily invested already, they're not looking at making an immediate switch or shift. They're just kind of waiting to see, are we going to, or are we going to stick with this? What makes the most sense? So I'm curious where you three are. And again, everybody in chat. I mean, in chat, I think it's actually, in chat, before we get going, in chat, are you staying with Unity, or if you're switching to a different engine, can you just put the name of the engine in the chat? Just I'm curious to see what that looks like. Is it, everybody's saying Unreal and Godot or Godot and or RPG Builder, or is everybody switching with Unity? And yeah, so what about you guys?
I'm going back to XNA, okay? The good old days.
Oh man. Give me flashbacks of the fun of deploying to an Xbox for the first time. I remember doing that and just being like, wait a minute, I can push stuff right out to my Xbox. And I had my kids playing with the controllers on there on the TV. Yeah, that was amazing. Sorry, you gave me flashbacks from X.
No, that was the best feeling, like getting that hooked up and getting it working and like seeing something work on an Xbox. I'm like, yes.
Oh yeah.
Back then it was amazing.
I guess in all honesty, a wait and see is probably the best approach, because right now, even with everything said, one of the biggest issues is that issuing clarity and communication, because what the changes actually entail and the details of them are spread across a forum post, the social media, the official pricing page. You have to keep hopping places because a lot is changing in real time. So I don't blame anyone for waiting to see, because what the true implications of a lot of these changes is not settled in stone, even like internally within Unity, it seems. So waiting and seeing is probably about the best. Nothing too hasty where you trash all your projects immediately. Just basically give it time for them to formulate a better response, which is criticism on their part for please formulate a more coherent response. One place you can go to with the most up-to-date information.
Yeah, I wanted something. It would have been a lot easier. I think they could have avoided the like everything's on fire a little bit more if they had given like even just a cursory case study with real numbers literally just give us some very basic numbers. It doesn't have to be true like of a real company, but like having to look for like crowdsourced solutions to see how your business is going to be affected, like, is really tough. Like, even like I only teach, but like if I was a dev and I was like, our company was really invested, like this would be really hard to wait and see till January 1st. Like that's a whole quarter for your business. That's going to be hard for people who are actively like have stuff published and with the like quasi retroactive billings going on. Like I say quasi because it's counting backwards, but only in some cases it's very unclear what they're going to do for that. Like,
I got the sense it was counting backwards for thresholds, but I don't know. Does that mean you like immediate tripwire into a fee on the first install on January 1st? Or does that counting just restart at January 1st? And it's just if the game was there beforehand, it starts counting as of January 1st. But I'm guessing it doesn't but who knows?
Well, no. So they said that the internal was that like it's counting towards threshold, so they're not going to charge you. Like if you got more, like if you cross the threshold before January 1st, you don't get charged for those in the past, but you do get charged day one. So like
you do get charged day one at the high rate of the whatever the 15 cents or 12.5 cents or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to hurt the people who were the really solo or small team indie devs that used the personal license, did really well, and then are now like way above whatever threshold they need to be at, and they might end up having a bill that you can't. They have to shut down the game. That's what I'm afraid of. Like, it's not that people are going to get hit with like, oh, you owe us 10 grand on January 2nd. That's not going to happen. But it could be that like, oh, December 31st, we have to shut down because tomorrow we're going to be in a category that we can't support going forward as like a solo dev.
Yeah, for a big point that I saw mentioned in chat that really resonates with me is one reason I chose Unity as an engine. So way back in the years when I'm like in middle school and I want to make games, what should I learn? Unity was attractive in big part because the monetization system seemed simpler. It was just when you get over 100K, you pay subscription for Unity Plus or Pro or whatever it is at the time. And even compared to like Unreal's, which is still decently simple, which is over, I think it wasn't $1 million at the time. It was a lower threshold, but it was still a 5% rev share. These are calculatable and predictable within like a reasonable amount of effort, but Unity had a simpler and arguably cheaper price point. And even with the changes, I believe most of the time it's still cheaper than the 5% rev share, but it's so much more overhead to worry about and to think about. That even as like a new person, would you rather take the 5% at $1 million, which is Unreal's current offering, versus Unity's at 100K, and that you have to worry about per install charges, and if you're within these 2 branch points, versus if you buy our alternative subscription, you can go into a different set of charge points. It's just so much more overhead, so much more complicated than a rev share.
Yeah, having to use a spreadsheet to figure it out. I mean, I feel like for most people, it's still going to be cheaper on the Unity side, but yeah, it's way confusing compared to one of the key things I used to point out with Unity when I was kind of pushing it on people. Would be like, hey, yeah, it's free until you make like $1 million, and then it's relatively cheap. Or and there was the until you make $100,000, and then it's still like $50 a month, which is totally reasonable, and it's very easy for people to understand and manage and be like, oh yeah, if I make $100,000, I can easily pay $50 a month.
Buy a subscription.
Yeah, I'll buy a subscription. Yeah. But now explaining the new thing, it'll be like, yeah, it's but now you have to go to find the calculator. But either way, until I feel like for everybody, until you hit $1 million, it's it's not really going to impact anything. You got to hit $1 million and 1 million installs before these numbers are going to actually matter, because anything before that, you're just going to switch to a pro license. If you get over, and if you get over 200,000, you should probably be able to afford a pro license.
Truly,
there wasn't actually an example in the FAQ of actual numbers of a case study. I'm looking through it. I can't find it. So did it get deleted?
No,
Did
No,
you
it's
guys
there.
read one with a
It's
case
there.
study?
That is case study, but the case study is so wrong. It's so bad that it even shouldn't be there. The case study
I
is
don't.
for just showcasing, I think, to showcase that it's cheap, yeah, and it's
Oh,
not.
that doesn't. That doesn't. Okay. So, all right. Fair enough.
Yeah, the showcase one confused me at first because there's a couple paragraphs there. Let's see if I can pull it up on the FAQ, but it mentioned let's see, we're gonna find that. Where is that FAQ? It had the pricing, and it looked like you were getting charged for the first couple 100,000, but I didn't realize if you go up a couple paragraphs, it's saying that they're already making $1 million. That was just a couple 100,000 for the month. Where is that? Let's see. It's right here. I'm gonna screen share it. Pop this up. And then there was a super chat I want to take in just a second too. Oh wow, that is tiny. Okay. Yeah, it's right here. How is the runtime fee calculated? And they've got it on this one. It's a game that surpasses $1 million in revenue and 1 million installs. So yeah, this is basically what I think would happen like January 1st to people, right? They've already passed these, and then the fee for the install act, and then for the first month, January, they get 200,000 installs in whatever regular countries and 100,000 in emerging ones, and their fees end up being $23K because they're charged at the high tier for the first 100,000, and then the slightly lower tier for the second 100. I guess it's half off tier at the second 100,000, and then the much lower tier for the other ones. But it's still kind of a
But
big
that doesn't account for all the licenses that your business might have to pay for, which is going to kill you as well. So like if you have to buy, like someone put in, not in the spreadsheet guys, but someone else did a little case study on LinkedIn today for their own company, and they only had like 3 or 4 seats, but like that adds up a ton even with the reduced price structure.
It's like another 10,000 a year.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, so I could see. I mean, for some games, this is probably nothing, right? Like for a lot of games that are doing 200,000 installs, if they're even charging $1 an install, that's still relatively, it's 10%. But if they were charging $20 an install or $5 or whatever normal game price, it'd be fine for a PC game. But for mobile stuff, I could see this definitely being super, super scary. Like.
Yeah, and for the new devices thing, because companies aren't charging you for device installs, but Unity will. So now you're effectively, adding exponents to your bill.
Yeah, I think that part's a little scary. I also really wish it ramped up, or it didn't have such a big ramp on the starting point. Like there wasn't such a big hit at the, like you're barely making it. It just keep it at the scale numbers all the time. So that way, it scales up as you scale up instead of scaling down as you scale up. Just don't charge. Maybe there's a ton of money in all those little guys, and that's what they're going after. But I can't imagine that there's a lot of people, with these $23,000 a month ones that it adds up versus the big ones where it's going to be many millions a month or whatever.
No, I feel like even from how the pricing sheet is laid out, it literally looks like a visual representation of them saying, we don't want you to use the free personal license to do anything monetized. Like every other column has tons of different breakdowns. Free personal has like the highest billing. It has no exceptions. It's like, oh, so you kind of just say that. Just say, oh, we don't want you to make money using the personal one.
Like, you definitely have to have to switch off of this one if you're doing anything to make money. And that may have been part of the thing too, like trying to get a lot more people into Pro. So I know Plus was, I don't think, very successful. So
yeah, but the question is, when can you change? Because we didn't see any info about it.
My understanding is you can do that when the billing time comes. Like you can do that on the fly.
But I didn't see the
billing structure. Yeah, billing? What, like for a year, for a quarter? Like,
yeah, well, I would hope that you could retroactively do it. That it would be like some notification. I mean, the ideal would be a notification that says, "Hey, you've passed this threshold. This is the normal bill. Do you want to just upgrade to Pro?" And you hit the button, and you're upgrading to Pro. That would be the ideal way to do it. Hopefully, it's something like that. But I don't know.
Yeah, the hope is for especially edge cases, Unity will probably contact and interact. So I know their intention isn't just to, I want to kill like all free to play games, or I want to like harm these charity organizations. If there's a weird edge case, there's probably going to be a back and forth communication, kind of like how I believe the current status is. If you were to go over your 100K threshold and you're still on personal, someone would reach out to you saying, hey, are you above it? And their conversation can be started for if you do need to upgrade your subscription plan. So it's not just going to be a bot that slaps you with $10,000 fines and then just leaves. But it's still not good to even have that uncertainty there, which is part of the whole rollout message and making it far clearer. Especially an example or a pre-baked example would have been nice, but yeah.
I'm sure the intent isn't to hurt any of the developers at all. I'm sure it's to make money off of places where they weren't making a lot of money. But and my biggest fear there is just people getting kind of like dropped through the cracks, and just something happens and there's too many of them or not enough people to respond, or a message gets missed and then a studio shuts down because of just a lack of communication or something. So I want to take a couple of these questions. First, let's take the super chat, and then we'll go from there. Let's see. It was reading Pal's chats. So Mark said, staying with Unity because I have to. Keen to hear what you all think of Unity's future. My biggest anxiety as a dev halfway through my project is the company basically going under in a few years and leaving me with nothing. Do you all think that is a viable, realistic thing that may happen? That like Unity could just disappear like Flash? I mean, I've seen some people say that. I'm not going to say my opinion on it yet, but what do you guys think? Is that a concern of yours that Unity is just going to disappear or die, or get bought up and then turned into a subset of Unreal? I don't know.
Bought by Microsoft, okay? This
Bought
is
by
all
Microsoft.
get acquired.
I don't know. That's a scary one, because like this isn't going to be about, like, it seems like since they went public with their IPO, like the shift is like, it's shifted a little bit in priorities, which is fine. They're allowed to be a public company. They're allowed to make money. That's great. But like these decisions and like what might happen in the future might be taken, like might have nothing to do with devs, quite honestly. Like the company shutting down is going to be more like if their price drops, like if they tank and they can't cover everything that they need to cover. So they're like, I don't think it's going to be like it's going to shut down because people stop using it. There's enough people that are entrenched in it that probably won't be the thing. It's going to be the problem with having shareholders. It's a double-edged sword. You make money, but you are then beholden to having shareholders, and now you're a publicly traded company.
Certainly a concern, and I think that was kind of what Mark was Mark. Yeah, Mark was pointing out, like if something went down not because of the developers, but more like corporate related. Now, personally, I don't think that's likely to happen. I can't imagine that happening anytime soon. I think they're probably completely fine, and I know they got growth in a lot of stuff, and they're already making a ton of money on their ads. So I highly doubt that's going to happen. And like I said, from the bigger companies that I've talked to so far, none of them have decided to make any big decisions to jump and switch, which makes sense. I mean, these are many giant multi-million-dollar decisions. You don't take them lightly. But I'm not too worried about it myself. What about the rest of you?
For Unity going under, I definitely say it's less likely. They are a publicly traded company. There's a lot of effort, manpower, and a lot of people working to make sure it literally doesn't just collapse. It's not a tiny indie studio making a very bad decision. It is designed to survive. The worry I can probably see or lend more credence to is, will operating and working with Unity be the same over the next couple of years? So the kind of community building that's been happening for Unity, which has, I think, been one of the strongest for any form of game dev engine, the kind of like community tutorials, additional resources, that culture could be altered, and definitely probably will be altered by these kinds of changes. But Unity as like an engine where you're worried that your software is just going to go into deprecation because you backed the wrong engine, That's unlikely to be a super forefront fear, especially this early. But it does shake trust with like the Unity brand, not getting into the TOS stuff either. But I can understand that trust being shaken for working with it. But in terms of the engine and company actually functioning, you're probably fine.
Well, that's my biggest concern, right? Is the trust. And I mean, I'm seeing a lot of people that I follow on YouTube and everything saying they don't see how Unity can ever regain that trust. You know, Samiam posted that on her Discord, and she's no longer going to be making Unity videos. She's moving to Unreal. And you know, Kenny, who makes the Kenny asset, saying he's done with Unity. And I'm like, do you think Unity can regain that trust? And what would they have to do to regain that trust? And I'm personally hoping they find a way to do that and right the ship, because I love the engine. All my content on my channel is centered around Unity. So but I have to completely, you know, what my audience think if Unity self-destructs? Are they going to want my content anymore? Am I going to have to start moving to another engine myself? I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to have to do something about that, because everyone, even in the chat, or everyone since this all happened, seems to be focusing on that. Like it's not so much the fees and the smoke and everything that, and the, you know, kind of unclear rollout. It's like, how do we trust you again?
Right.
It's being in a bad relationship. Like, how do we go back?
Yeah, it would definitely be hard. The steps to take, even I'm not 100% sure what the steps to be taken would need to be, because for me, the TOS thing is a very hard like trust bridge to rebuild, because actively like removing the GitHub repo that was allowing you to track TOS changes, taking that down so that couldn't be seen if it was being modified, and
Yeah, that's pretty sleazy.
yeah, and the initial clause for any work that you do in the engine or when you release at runtime, you will not be subject to like future changes, only a TOS at the time of release. There was a clause written in the TOS for that was removed, and now they can attempt to apply those retroactive changes. That's a very hard bridge to come across, and that just might be a lot of time and a lot of really, really good policy and tech changes to try to recover from. But yeah, it's definitely shaken faith and just a feeling of like a good feeling for working in the engine. You like to hope that the people you're working with, or the tool you're working with, have your best interests at heart and you understand the negotiation. But this entire scenario proves that conversation can get very muddied, and that's not a good feeling just to work with. It's not an attractive feeling for a new dev coming out of like coming out of school, deciding I want to work in games. Do I work with Unreal, who's never had any issues like this, or Unity, who currently like burned down Twitter a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, and a lot of people that aren't even familiar with it are just seeing all of the hubbub about it and thinking, man, I don't want to use Unity. And then, you know, going back to can they regain the trust? I wonder if it's not like the kid who peed his pants in school. You know, no matter what he does after that, he's always going to be known as that kid, you know, the kid that peed his pants. Is Unity always going to be known as the company that tried to retroactively, you know, change their terms of service and broke trust?
Certainly hope not. Before we go further, Powell sent this link and I want to share it so everybody who sees it. You mentioned Kenny.
Yeah, I want to, if I can also take this question. I'm with Unity 15 years right now. Yeah, so it's quite a long time. It's Unity 2, so it's I would say it's everything that is inside Unity nowadays. Yeah, it's mostly asset store wasn't there. The community was just a basic one. It looked like a Godot back then. Yeah, it was something. And I haven't seen in so many years something like that happen with Unity. And first there was Gigaya project, then there was IronSource merger. Now many internal struggles I've seen, I heard about, I've taken part in, that happened throughout these years that most of I can't talk even about. And now this final thing that breaks the trust of the entire community, because I see this as breaking trust of the community. Yeah, because we are hearing, I also heard them a few days before the announcement. I didn't know what the announcement would be. That many inside developers, many insiders that work with Unity, was taking, "Don't do it," and they're still going through, pushing through everyone that has love for Unity, that loves this engine, loves to work with them, and they're going still through. They making quick changes to TOS because, so if they announce a TOS and they changed it last 3 days 20 times, because I'm checking the link to the forum announcement, not the fact changes so many times during the last few days that I don't know. But
That's the FAQ, not the terms of service, right?
yeah.
I think the GitHub
Yeah.
for the TOS is still down.
Yeah, that the TOS is still down. We don't know truly what TOS is for this thing. The forum is changing day by day. I think today is the first day that it didn't change once, but it was changed times. There are so many different things that are changing, and people are saying that this price, this new revenue, won't affect them. It won't. This version, no. But how can I trust a company like that? That in 1 month, when or let's say in half of the year of 2024, when they have calculations, but that's still not enough money from the revenue fee, the new revenue. Why don't they change it and take not 10% of customers, but 20% of customers or 30% of customers? Because it's not still not enough money. Yeah. This is my biggest problem. We don't have the trust for the company. And to be truthful, I haven't seen so many asset developers. I know many of them being so checking Unreal, checking Godot, asking me if I want anything, and he'll help them move their assets there. Yeah, because we have assets on Unreal. We checked the Godot because we are always trying to have multiple sources. But I didn't see top publishers of asset store moving away. Yeah, it's such bad. It's so stressful time for many people, yeah, for influencers, for insiders, for asset store sellers, that it's very hard to change something like that.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I think everybody's totally stressed out and yeah,
feels bad, man.
I wouldn't have. I'm sorry to get my words all screwed up, but I was a little surprised by how much it's impacting the asset developers too. And we talked a little bit earlier before the stream and talking about it, but yeah, it's definitely a bigger impact than I would have expected there. And I know it's impacting the studios and developers heavily, but surprised. Hopefully things level out and stuff smooths out, and it gets figured out, and they figure out some way to regain some of that trust. I don't know what that would be exactly, but I guess we'll find out. There were a couple of super chats though that just popped up that I wanted to take. We had one from Vendoilis. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I said the pro license seems to have changed from studio revenue to per game revenue. This might be an advantage for most indies. What % of indies have over 200,000 installs and make over 200K in a 12-month? I guess on like a single game. I didn't realize that. I guess that does make sense though, if they're going to switch it and have like a per game fee, that it would be per game, because if you had one game that had 1 million installs and another game that had 1,000 installs and made $1 million, it wouldn't be great going forward.
Ooh, or if you ended up in a weird split breakpoint. I have 90,000 installs on one game, but 10K in another. Do I now tripped 100K threshold holistically?
Yeah. Looks like that's not the case, which is good. That would make it really confusing, I think.
But even with a per game revenue, you still have, if you have more than one game like in development at the same time, you probably have more seats, more licenses that you're responsible for paying for. So like that might, the like studio might have been better. Who knows? It seems like all these, like, it's going to affect the configuration of their pricing guide is so, like, it's just a big exception. Like there's no one size fits all. So everybody is going to be affected differently. So like, I feel like we're going to see, like, we have to wait till like February 1st to see what actually happens, like in a bill, like that's something that people get sent.
Yeah.
We forgot about talking about Kenny. Yeah, one.
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
right,
I have the. Let me pull that back up. Where'd it go? Kenny. Share this tab instead. Yeah. So, Paolo, you mentioned this, so you want to tell everybody what it is, real quick?
Yeah, I don't know how many of you know Kenny. It's asset developer, that creates amazing assets. Most of them are free, some of them are paid, but as you can see today, many of them are free. But even if you get them, give him, pay him how many you can, try to support him. He is amazing creator. He also, I think, is moving away from Unity, so try to support him because he has amazing big library of assets that you can use in any engine.
Yeah, Kenny's stuff's great. I've used it a million times, so
It is
I
really
highly
good.
recommend those things. Go check them out. And free today. I mean, if you've been thinking about checking them out now's the time. Check him out. Watch him on Twitter. He's very, very active in the chat about this stuff. Yeah.
An interesting,
Understandable.
I know this couldn't apply to all assets, but an interesting idea moving forward would be more of a demand for engine agnostic assets. So rather than just something built for Unreal architecture or Unity architecture, this is definitely easier with like 3D content, but I know it's not really feasible with code or mechanics or anything else. That
Even
runtimes are entirely different.
To be truthful, for 2D content, it is possible. For 3D content, no way. Unfortunately, all of free engine, the big, I'm talking about Godot, Unreal, Unity, they are so different. I think for us to port one asset from Unity to Unreal, it's about 2 to 3 months of work.
Ooh.
If you want to do it the good way, because the way how HDRP works is totally different how Unreal rendering works. So we have to do lots of work to do it and to change it.
But
He's
what
got
if
to
you
sell
had,
only
like,
crates. Right.
what if you were doing stuff in like Blender? Would it be like, I'm not an art person, so like, what if you went?
Yeah, but you have to check how you, because we are optimizing high quality assets. Yeah, so you have to check how the vertices are spaced out, how indexes are spaced out, what kind of info you put in UV2, UV3, UV4, UV5, and so on and so on. There's many decisions. Shaders have to, because we are writing our own shaders, we have to write the different kinds of shaders, different kinds of shading, because the post processes work differently. There's a lot of stuff if you want to change between these three engines. For example, if you're doing mesh for Unity, second and third UV, you can't use them in 3D because Unity is using them to use some light mapping. But for Unreal, you can use them, so you can have different things. Yeah, that's lots of stuff. If you know, if you're doing, let's say, if you're doing art like Synth, I think it's simpler, because you don't have to, because they are using some the base shaders of Unity and Unreal. Yeah, we are doing for nature assets and photogrammetry. We have to use custom, so that's not as easy as it would look like.
He said, just make crates and then it's much easier. It's just standard crates, just nothing but cubes with some textures. Easy to switch. We got a couple more super chats on a pop up real quick. Dom was asking about jumping ship. Said reactions are muddying already, dirty waters. I've been urging friends to wait until the dust settles. Am I being naive for not jumping ship? I would urge friends to wait until the dust settles too. I'm kind of the same way. I've a long time ago decided to stop making rash decisions and getting upset about things that aren't emergencies around the family. So now I just wait and see and I keep doing what I'm doing and see how things go in the next couple days and weeks and stuff. I wouldn't freak out yet, but it's also not going to immediately and directly impact me in January. I don't have a project that's out there where this is going to suddenly be a problem or one that's about to launch. So it's a lot easier for me to relax than some people. I can totally understand. You guys got other thoughts on that?
Yeah. What do you think about how it will affect your channel though? Your audience, you're primarily a Unity guy. So if Unity implodes, what would that mean for your audience?
I have no idea. I mean, who knows? Maybe there will be less people making Unity stuff. I don't think that Unity is going to completely disappear or drop off, though. I mean, even if I put up a poll a little while ago. Thank you, pal, for mentioning that. And a lot of people are thinking that maybe it's going to fall in the number 2 spot and be behind Unreal or Godot. Probably they're thinking behind Unreal. I think that even if that's the case, there's still plenty of stuff to learn and plenty of teaching, and a lot of the things are still end up being completely relevant. So like a lot of the content is still relevant across engines, and just makes sense. So I'm not worried about it personally, and I mean the stream right now is doing good. So yeah, maybe I'm delusional. Developers, it's certainly a possibility. But I try to keep a positive outlook on stuff, and things will probably be okay. I mean,
I do have a question for you, though, because you're planning to go to Unite, right?
Yeah.
You've already
Me too.
Your trip. So I did see people suggesting that if developers really want to hold Unity's feet to the fire, they should just demand refunds for Unite and just say they're not going to go if they don't roll back this decision. I'm just wondering how you guys feel about Unite. What do you think Unite's going to be like under these circumstances?
Maybe can I? I just bought my hotel and plane tickets on Monday. Yeah, so
perfect timing.
Perfect timing. Yeah. To be truthful, I'm very fine that they didn't announce it in keynote on Unite. It would be
that would have been really
really bad.
Amsterdam would have gone up in flames.
Yeah, we have 2 options. We can not go to Unite. Just say screw it. We are not going there. But what it will do? Will it be better than going there and talking with these people, talking with the ones that can make changes and that can make decisions? I think I always prefer to talk with people rather than just quit and go away. Yeah, I know many people that work on Unity. I know many insiders, and I would say all of them are great guys. Great guys that really want this company to do good things. They're mostly acting like people in chat these days, but they can't officially act it like this. Yeah, it's their job. So I think it's better to go there and talk with the ones that we can and try to change their minds, rather than just sit here and quit or change the engine. I still have hopes for Unity and hope they will change their decisions or make them different way, but maybe I'm just delusional these days.
No, because there's 2 parts of this. Like, we love Unity, but we don't like what the business is doing, and that's the problem. And there's like people in the chat, people on LinkedIn seem to be like conflating the 2, and it's not. Like, everyone who loves Unity is in a really bad spot right now because we love Unity and we don't love what it's doing. Like, that's not us being not angry about it. Like, I saw someone in the chat like, I'm angry about it. I'm really angry about it. But like, that doesn't really help. I still love using Unity. I'd like to keep teaching it. Like, it's what we do. So I think there needs to be some kind of like, people do need to understand that like people inside the company, probably, 99% of the people in the company didn't have a vote.
Yeah.
You really think they did? Like, no one did. People making tools for Unity didn't get a vote on this.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me at all. Because as a person that's done enterprise software development my whole life, I've seen that so many times that decisions come down from above, and you're like, "What are you thinking?" But like you, I love the Unity engine. I love doing Unity tutorials. I mean, it's probably the most enjoyable thing I've done in the last 10, 15 years. But I absolutely despise what they're doing with this boneheaded plan.
For chat elucidation, r/Unity 3D is now the anti-Unity meme subreddit, and I was browsing that for quite a while. So I got a lot of the frustrations out last night to have a calm, level-headed take today, because there are plenty of reasons to be mad, to have a massive reaction, to just say fire the CEO and everything will be all right. There are some really good memes on there for anyone who wants to help vent the frustrations. But just saying usually if it's a one-sentence Twitter response, it's probably not a good long-term solution to fixing most of your situations or your issues. So just fire the CEO. This plan got out, and it's not just John Riccitiello signing something and passing it off. You can't just put all the blame on one figurehead and assume it'll all be all right if we get rid of this one person. This requires a longer conversation with with Unity as a company for how did something like this go all the way through, despite several Unity employees fighting against it and saying that it was a bad idea, insiders warning them it would be a bad idea. It's more endemic than that, and you need to have a longer form conversation and actually interact or engage with it than just all caps fire John Riccitiello, which is most people's response.
Yeah. All right, let's go through a couple more. A bunch of people popped up super chats. I want to make sure we answer them all real quick.
Yeah.
So Crazy Games asked if we think IronSource is the reason the decisions were made, knowing the top rep of the company is so bad. I don't know who the top rep of IronSource is. But I did see that Twitter post. I don't know if you all saw it about the theory that the main goal of this was to steal market share from AppLovin for their ad service because they're making it free or they're waiving the fee for people that are using their ad service. And I forgot the name of it already. Level Play. That's right.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get people over to Level Play. Do you guys think that was a driving force? That does make sense to me. Like the argument is plausible to me. I don't know if it's the actual reason, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, for me, I'm very, very suspicious that it's the case. Yeah, looking how they because if they did some simple percent revenue fee, it would take everyone the same way. Yeah,
Mhm.
but the way they did it, the PC and consoles mostly won't be having a problem with it because it's so small fee that you have to pay with the amount you're getting. But hyper casuals, mobile games that don't make people cry because of microtransactions, they don't make people wait 10 hours to play 5 minutes of game. The mobile games that are truly free to play and they are just getting enough money to sustain the game and have been successful, these are the games that will be forced to use Unity, IronSource things rather than just making games. I talked with one my colleague. He's making some mobile education for kids games. He tries to make them pay as small amounts as they can just to sustain the company. He has millions of installs, but I think he had only 1 million of income for many. I think he has about 20 developers there. So it's not big income for this size of company. It's Eastern Europe, so it's enough to sustain the living. But
And he
with the
doesn't want to
amount,
add ads because
yeah,
it's
he
targeting
doesn't.
children.
He
Yeah.
can't add most of ads because
Of corporate
it's
restrictions.
educational application that attracts children. Yeah, he would have
Mhm.
many troubles with doing that, and this kind of fee will kill his business because
Yeah,
he
that
will
makes
pay
sense.
Unity more money than he gains from it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
He's
this
in the
kinds of
worst Matrix
application,
position.
yeah, he's in the worst, and the only option for him is just Unity says, okay, we will let you go.
Yeah.
But I don't believe they will do it when they announce something like that with talking with people.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they would probably want to let that go, but that's again one of those things that I feel like would be very likely to just get dropped through, and like the intent is that doesn't happen, but there's so much other stuff going around that it never gets solved, and that it happens anyway.
If you have 20 people that are working for you, you have making a living out of it. Would you just give your entire living on one company that says maybe not, maybe yes? I don't see anyone would go for it.
Yeah, I can see it being a problem.
Yeah, it seems like they're like if you have even a small to medium-sized team, gambling on success of your indie game is now more risky. Like that seems to be like the odd middle ground of where the risk factor has now like kind of stalled out, because we've all like, most people aren't going to be affected by this, sure, because you're making free stuff and you won't cross the thresholds. The bigger companies are going to be like, they're going to have to pay it, and they're probably not happy about it, but they'll be okay. But like, it's the middle ground that won't be able to take those like creative risks anymore, which was the whole point in the first place of like being able to build something that you like wanted to do, and you were kind of trusting Unity to kind of not screw you over if you did moderately well. Because it's not the people that are doing no sales and not the people that are doing tons of sales. People that are doing moderately well, and that's where like people are going to lose jobs. Not at a big company.
Do you think for those people, like, I mean, obviously the trust thing not going to be solved by this, but the financial part would be solved just by bumping up those like, you know, monthly thresholds, so that you still have to make whatever $500,000 or $1 million a month or whatever instead of a year, or maybe it's 200,000 in a month revenue. Instead of, or I'm curious, do you think if those numbers just were drastically higher, or maybe if there were an option of like just a 3 or 5% rev share alternative, that those would alleviate the financial difficulty part of this? Or you think that it's still like a, I'm just curious what you guys think.
Well, was it you that suggested that they give the devs an option of either the pay per install or the revenue share?
That's what I would have recommended. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was always my thought, is like, if you had the option of like, hey, this is the default, but if you want to go with a 3% rev share, you can just do that instead.
That.
Something like that would be, I think that would be like an easy sell. And be like, yeah, we'll pick whichever one is cheaper
like
for our business. That way they don't alienate the giant ones that are where they don't want to take a full 3%, but they still want millions. And then they also have an option for the smaller ones that aren't making that much revenue. And again, in Pal's situation, I don't even know, like 3% of the million still might be, oh, I guess it shouldn't be. It'd be like 30,000. It's like probably a developer salary at least.
But it's of the installs, not of the revenue.
I was just saying, if it were revenue based, it would be.
Yeah, if it was revenue based, that's not a problem. Yeah, because
yeah, I think they could probably handle that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But one thing, if you know it will be coming when you're developing a project.
Yes.
You
Oh yeah.
Making it
you know it
Like-
earlier. Because if someone just, to be truthful, I didn't want to be in the shoes of someone that is in the middle of creating hyper casual game that will be released in next 2 months.
No.
Because
I mean,
if your income is few cents per install, then oh no, and you don't have Unity IronSource in your project, but you have Ablovin, then sorry, you will go down.
Yeah.
like, what is it? Something, I don't remember the exact figures, but like the same thing happened. A very similar thing happened when Firebase got acquired, and like they went from a per like call like to their database, or you could upgrade and buy like a higher level of subscription. But it wasn't like this where the fees went down. Like if you bumped up, the fees just went away if you went up in tiers. Now I don't remember how like the pricing structure worked, but it wasn't a reduction in pricing per query. It was, if you up your subscription, you are now free and clear for this higher level of requests.
Yeah, the low. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. And like it was like you're saying, it seemed it didn't, nobody like rioted. Like Firebase is great. Like you literally can go into your account and there's a breakdown of options for your specific usage and what is better for you. Like that's, like you said, that's where it seems like there's not a like solution that is clear for everybody. Like with revenue sharing, like that's a very, like that's one number. We can all kind of do basic math, and even if it's not, it's just more predictable. It makes you feel a little bit safer.
Yeah,
yeah.
per install creates a lot of uncertainty, both for how that is calculated, the mechanism by which it is calculated, and all of that. A band-aid for all of this would just be an additional cap layer saying, we'll charge you per install, but it'll never go above like a percentage of your revenue. And just having that band-aid there solves a lot of issues of your charges racking up viciously to the point where you can't afford them but it's still not great because of the unpredictability standpoint. And of course, we're not sure how they would calculate installs in the first place, by what metric. We have honestly just guesses, because every time we ask, we're not given a clarified answer on how installs are calculated.
That would alleviate a lot of the like just knowing, because you would at least have like a cap. You'd be able to budget like whatever 3 or 4 or 5%, like, and then the rest of it is just bonus that you got.
Yeah, then the pricing thing, that's what jumped out at me when I was looking at the table the first time. Like, there's no bottom and there's no cap, and that's the issue. Like, if you bounce up to Pro or Enterprise, it doesn't, like, it reduces your fees, but it's still uncertain. Like, you should just be at a tier, and that should be it. And if you need to go up a tier, yes, it's more money, but at least you know that you're jumping because you're scaling successfully.
So Captain McSwagger was wondering where the revenue comes from. Do you think it's is this pre or post other fees? Is the publisher cut part of my calculated revenue? Good question. I don't know. Like, is it actually like all the sales, or is that after Apple and Google take their 30% and whoever takes their whatever other percents? I have no idea.
Does it include other revenue like merch and in-app purchases and?
Yeah, is it self-reported or like pulled from the app stores? I don't know. Great question. I will do my best to find an answer to that, unless you guys happen to know.
Nope.
No, that's
great question.
It does seem like it's right. The way it's worded, it does seem like it's Unity's cut, and you have to do. It's like using Stripe as a backend. Like, Stripe tells you their price, and everybody else that you're using, you also have to kind of figure that out on your own when the bill comes in. Like, they're going to take their 20 cents or 1 cent, whatever it ends up being with your tier.
Stripe is going to take their 35 cents plus 3.5%.
Exactly. And whatever other third parties, they don't care. That's not their money. That's not their problem.
All right, well, I screenshotted that question so I can make sure to ask around and get an answer to that one as quick as possible. That's funny. That's literally how I take my notes now. I just use a Snagit and take a screenshot of them.
Hey, it works. The digital era.
So Tonsi or Tonk? I don't know. How do you pronounce that? Tonsi? I'm not sure, but please let me know. Asked or said, Unity should make people feel safe with their long-term choices, removing uncertainty of black box counting installs. I have a tip before it implodes. Yeah, I feel like the black box installs are the install counting, and the way that it was described is certainly something that nobody is excited about. Having a proprietary model is not something that I would have put into the wording. Like, no, like, we'll just count the number of installs would be much better. We'll get it from valid data.
Right. Yeah. Someone had a great one-liner. It was like, if it was this easy to catch fraud wouldn't be a thing. Like, if it was just that easy to make a counter and count, that would be fantastic. But it's not. Like.
Yeah, it comes back to that trust thing. Also, their definition of what installs they count has changed over these different erratas. At one point, it included reinstalls. It doesn't in the most recent versions, I believe, but that it does not help, and it doesn't help too that I can't tell how long I can run with your current narrative because it is prone to changing.
That one, I think I might be able to clarify a little bit because I've been watching some of the insider chat on that, and I get the sense that the goal was not to charge for reinstalls of a game, like you go install a PC game, you uninstall it and reinstall it or anything like that, but that the way that the messaging, I think, was probably very mobile heavy, and I think it got translated in the minds of the people saying no, or yes, we do charge for new installs, as like, hey, I went and got a new phone, installed this game again on a new one, and does that count as an install? Everything that I've heard afterwards on the clarification seems like the goal was never like to double charge for an actual install. It was just that the idea of what an install is and how that's counted was different probably somewhere in the layers of the communication along the way. And like, yeah, of course we charge for reinstalling. And they're like, what? Like, you sure? Like
it's the device.
Totally different. That's kind of where it was. So
yeah, but if you download and install on different devices, it counts as different installs. Yeah.
I would
Yeah, they're
think
trying-
so.
Yeah, it's in the forum.
It's
Yeah.
in the newest one. They said that, but
Yeah.
like that changes like you're wagging the dog. Like that, then
Yeah, but
how you sell the game has to change to keep up. Like
yeah,
Steam is then going to have to say, oh well, we're selling you 3 seats, or whatever. It's a new seat and a new install. So there's a 50% charge for new devices. Like,
yeah,
that's
but
gonna be-
I'm still debating how they will tell if it's the installs. I know they saying that they have some API or calculation that they can say if it's installed or not, but it means that they have to check some kind of hardware on your device or some kind of caches on your device without.
Now on mobile, I bet they're just checking that whatever that code, the unique
Yeah,
one on there,
yeah,
and
for
that's
mobile,
probably still.
okay.
I wonder if they've even thought through the PC part or not. If they even have a plan for that.
No,
I think most
And
of
and
them
then the
they're checking-
subscription services
because
like Game Pass.
look, if someone
Yeah.
wants to do what people were telling about, that make hundreds of the installs and send the data that some game is installed and installed, so you can change BIOS, you can change so many components in the PC just on software level that it won't recognize it's the same PC.
Mhm.
I don't know
Yep.
how they want to calculate and or check if it was done this way. Yeah, for mobile, okay, most mobile are closed, but even on Android you can change your phone that it's not the same one.
Mhm.
So for me, it's just saying that trust us is very bad. And for me, second thing is that the tools should be aligned with Unity version. This tools is for
Mhm.
this Unity version. This new tools is for new Unity version. Choose. You want new
would-
features? Go to that. We are stop supporting this version. You are stop supporting ads on this Unity version,
Mhm.
and that's it.
It-
Yeah, you can do it other ways.
It'd be so much better if it was by Unity version. Like, I think a significant part of the trust issues would be alleviated if it was TOS for this version. I know what I'm getting when I'm signing up to this Unity version. Because it's
Yeah.
not, we have the weird feeling of I'm developing in like Unity 2021. Are they going to do something in 2024 that affects my current like legal standing with my engine as if developing it for like 3 years on my own? That's not
Yeah,
a great feeling.
Yeah, at least you'd be able to like make your conscious decision of what you're giving up. Like, okay, fine, I'll only use features from 21. Like, and that's it. And I'll take that bet, and I'll keep making my games.
That may be why they didn't want to do that too, though, because it would
To
stop people from
disincentivize
upgrading. Like
Well,
the
then that
idea
should be
of
like
doing
the
something
big
that's
red
their
flag of
problem.
like, oh God, is this not a good idea if people won't?
Yeah.
They want a choice.
It's what I've seen in corporate, software development for years is we'll even cripple an older version to kind of force people, not me, I'm saying, but from on high, they were saying, well, we don't want to fix this problem because we want to force people to go to the new version.
Yeah. No patches.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I was wondering, I saw something yesterday that says that they've got confirmation that I think like Nintendo and Microsoft, and I don't know if it was Steam or one of the other distributors, have agreed to pay these fees on behalf of the devs on those platforms. Did you see something about that?
No, wait. No.
Oof.
I have not. No.
Because for Game Pass, you have a subscription. You can install any of the games you want on there.
But that's another thing I'm thinking about, because you're taking into mostly Unity was out of other agreements with other publishers, with stores and things like that, and now we have to take Unity to talk with us and with the company that runs the store to check what we are doing. Yeah.
It's versus just developing in a different engine without anywhere near this amount of interim overhead of I'm using Unity and I need special conversations with every part of my pipeline to obey by Unity's very, very, very specific plans of how everything needs to be tracked, the fees, the conversations.
It wouldn't surprise me if they just kind of waived those fees with Microsoft and all those things too, and just rolled it into your developer fee. That wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, because I doubt that they want to have any impact on those types of bundles, and there's not a lot of money for them to make there, right? Like,
yep.
I don't think there is. I can't imagine Microsoft or any of those places are willing to give up a bunch of money to just be negative. And it seems like if they're going after that mobile side, then that would be why.
Yep.
Take another chat. I got too much cotton candy here. I can't stop eating it, and it's making me super super thirsty.
That's why I bring water.
Water, like the stuff in the toilet.
I know. Dihydroxide, okay? My favorite chemical of choice.
Oh, anybody who hasn't seen Idiocracy should go watch it. It's my favorite, or one of my favorites.
It has electrolytes.
Oh,
Food
man.
plants crave.
Damn right. Need a Camacho outfit. All right, so EK thinks that the CEOs, the executives, want to destroy the engine because they sold their stock. That was something that a lot of people have talked about, was people selling stock, and like Riccatello selling a couple thousand shares. And I did the math, and it was like $80,000 worth, which I would assume to Riccatello is pennies. Yeah, that's
and let's lay this meme to bed. It's a fun idea. It's a fun meme. He currently still owns 3.2 million shares. If he wanted to asset
2,000,
he did it in the worst way possible. For shares like this, executives have to usually queue these up months ahead. I think the Primogen did a video on this because he works at Netflix. Usually, the execs have to queue this ahead of time for exact reasons like this, so you can't just asset steal or insider trade.
Yeah, it's never the execs. It's anything they put in relatives or family members' names that usually trip the wire. It's not they're monitored too heavily. So his stock share isn't a big deal.
Yeah, my sister has some shares in one of the biggest companies in Poland, and she has 2 weeks in each year where she can sell her shares. There are only 2 weeks that are from our Polish stock market, and it said that your company has these 2 weeks when the execs can sell their shares, and and that's it. Of course, the company can know when the shares will be sold and can make announcements just after it. That can be done, but that will be also checked by stock market if there was some big change on the share price. Yeah, so it's very very problematic, and most of the stock markets are checking these kinds of things done by execs, and it's this small payment for someone like Riccatello isn't worth going to jail for. I don't.
Oh yeah, it's not even worth getting asked a question about. I'm sure, like these numbers are big to us normal people, but when you're getting paid, millions in stock every year and ridiculous amounts, I mean, this is nothing, and I'm sure had absolutely nothing. And probably would have just undone it if it knew there would be any drama around it, or if it was impossible. Right? Like it's
secretly.
And I'm sure their goal is not that. Their goal is to make the engine do great and drive the stock price way up, not have it go down and have problems. So it's interesting. But go ahead, Corvallis, you had something there.
Oh no, secretly it's also a part of the Microsoft conspiracy. That 80,000 is what's going to get us acquired. Okay, we're all going to be brought under the .NET family. Just don't. There's a phrase. Don't think about it too hard, because if you do, you're probably going to end up in weird places. Be critical, but also be open to being corrected. And this is like one Google search away for how many shares he owns. And I'm pretty sure most of the people who tweet about it do not look up how many shares does he still own.
Yeah. There's a super chat. I got to drop off in just a few minutes to go find some more information, but we'll probably hop back on later today if you guys are up for it. I wanted to take this last super chat, though, from Steven, who said, is it reasonable to upcharge your game by 20 cents at most? Choose your own rev share. All companies need money. Games are mediocre. Crisis. Be agile. So do you guys think anybody is going to just increase the price of their game here? Or do you think everybody's just going to stay kind of the same?
Well,
or
I think it depends on your pricing model, right? If the way my game's priced, there'd be no reason to do that. But if you're in one of these free to play games or something that's going to be heavily impacted by this when it goes in effect, it'd be suicide if you didn't restructure your pricing.
Yeah,
if you charge it anyway, if you charge like in any way, you're probably fine. If the only, again, you're in trouble if you're a free to play with very high installs but relatively low revenue.
Yeah, very thin profit margin.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
in the danger zone then, by which there might be a conversation, but for the most part, it's not going to affect the way most people think about game dev, which is I have a sticker box price and I put it on like itch.io or Steam.
Yeah. If you're selling your game, like I said, you're probably fine, unless you're at the really low price points. But I think any of those like $3, $4, $5 games are going to be totally fine and not be impacted. Plus, you just go up to pro and pay quite a bit less. All right. Well, I've got to jump over to another call, but if you guys are up for it, we can hop back on in an hour or so and
I'll be
continue this
working,
conversation.
But thanks for having me.
Bye.
This has been fun.
Thanks, everybody.
I'll see if I can hop back on.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that stuff. And we'll see you in a little bit. Bye.
And drink water.
Yes.